We're going to start today seated, so find your way to your yoga mat if you're not quite there yet. Seated positions can look so many different ways. I like to sit up on, like I'm sitting on a blanket right now, but even bringing a couple of blocks. Some people can sit on one block, but a lot of people, 2 blocks is going to just feel a lot more supportive. Or even more blocks. So make your seated position as comfortable as you want today. I think I'm going to do blocks and then a blanket over top. Just sounds nice to me. So it can be a cross-legged position. You could sit with your legs straight. You could sit up in a chair. You could create a new variation if you think of something. I kind of like to uncross my legs and just kind of like stack one in front of the other. Not necessarily stack, but just kind of arrange them, one leg and then the other. I have quite open hips. That works for me. So just keep adjusting until you feel like you're in a good seated position. We will be here for a few minutes. So if you're already starting to feel uncomfortable, adjust, grab a chair. Usually only gets a little bit harder as time goes on. So you might find your hands resting on your thighs or your knees. Some people really like to hold onto themselves, maybe one hand near the belly button or so, one hand maybe somewhere around the heart. It's kind of nice to give your body just like a little rub or like a little hug if you'd like, just as you're tuning in, coming into this time and space for yoga. So closing your eyes if that feels good to you, or just softening your gaze and looking maybe on the floor or at a certain point in front of you. And as we scan through the body, we're certainly welcome to touch the body part you're kind of scanning through. If you're going through the leg, maybe you kind of touch your leg, becoming kind of reminding yourself, like, this is my leg. Sometimes we just are thinking of the idea of our leg and not necessarily like the physical experience of it. So sometimes a nice little touch or a tap can help us feel in. So just start scanning through your body in no particular order. Just with your awareness or with a physical touch. Just see how things are. Seeing if we can kind of transition from the thinking world to the physical being world here. Sometimes a good touch or tapping can kind of get you there. So continuing to scan your body, noticing whatever there is to notice, comforting whatever needs comforting. And then at some point, finding some stillness if that suits you. Start to become aware of your breath. Let's see if we can invite in some diaphragmatic belly breathing. Maybe one hand on the belly would be helpful here if you'd like. And breathing into that hand, letting the belly expand with your inhales as your lungs fill up, the diaphragm kind of lowers. And exhaling when it feels right to you. If you want to have 2 hands on the belly or the rib cage, just continuing with your breaths. Breathing in, expanding, breathing out, coming back to center. Go ahead and take a couple more rounds, maybe 3 more. And now we will do a couple of rounds of clearing breath or sighing breath, but I want you to exaggerate your side. Maybe kind of make like some extra noise with it. It can sound like a little roar. It could sound just like a little, if you're in a space where you can kind of let out a little yell or a little hum or some kind of note you might sing. We want to just like let out a little something extra this time. So we'll be out of an open mouth. So let's inhale through the nose and just see what happens. Exhale with a sigh and a little noise. Maybe a laugh if it was funny. We'll do that 2 more times. You just get in your own space here, making your sounds, inhaling through your nose, and then doing your thing. And coming back to a steady pace of breath when you're ready, unless you have more sounds that want to come out. Just notice if there are any responses from your body from letting those noises come out. I feel like almost euphoric after those sounds, which is quite lovely. And once you're back to a steady pace of breath, let's rub the palms of the hands together, creating some friction and heat between your hands. Keep going until they feel nice and warm, and then cup your hands over your eyes if you're comfortable touching your face, letting a little of that warmth sink into the eyes. Go ahead and keep your hands in place there as you blink your eyes open. Probably going to be in some darkness there. You might see some light through the cracks and corners. And keeping our hands still in place here, let's just with the eyeballs look to the left and then look to the right. Go ahead and go back and forth a couple of times, left to right, just with the eyeballs. Left and right, left and right. Go at your own pace. And then blink a couple times, let your gaze go to neutral, and then looking down and up, down and up. Go at your own pace a couple of times. And then blinking to come back to neutral. Then go ahead and circle your eyes around in one direction, maybe like 3 times or so, just circling all the way around the edges. And then eventually blinking and switching directions, just looking all the way around. And then again blinking. And this time, let's let the hands fall away from the face, but just take it slow. Maybe you kind of caress the sides of your head or your jaw or whatever as your hands come back down to your lap. All right, if you're sitting up on something, feel free to adjust. I like to sit down on the floor for this next part. We're going to do some heart circles here. So adjust a little bit, maybe switch which leg is in front, or you can even let your legs go out long. If your legs are crossed, maybe holding on to your knees or your shins or something that you can reach here. And we're just going to start to do some little heart circles. So either direction, we're just going to reach the chest forward, around, back, forward, around, and back. And I want you to consider the shapes that we make in cat and cow. So kind of when your heart is back, we're kind of making this like cat-like shape with the back. And then when the chest is forward, we're kind of puffing the chest up, making that cow-like back. So go ahead and just circle around in that same direction a couple more times, just considering these cat and cow-like shapes. Getting the shoulders into it a little bit. Just let your head and your neck just do what they want. Sometimes it feels good to kind of circle the neck as well. Switch directions when you're ready. I always get like the imagery of like churning a cauldron. So just helping things get brewed up for whatever spell you are working with today. Or whatever intention you want to brew up. Maybe start considering that now with your spiraling, circling. All right, and then eventually slowing down and coming back to center. We'll do a couple little seated cat and cows here. So with your inhale, pull the chest forward, looking up a little bit. This is our seated cow. And then exhale to round your spine back, tuck your chin toward your chest. This is our cat pose. Feel free to hang out here as long as you want, and then find your breath again when you're ready to move. We're inhaling to pull it forward, chest comes forward, gaze goes up. Eventually exhaling back to your cat. Go ahead and do that a couple more times. And when you've had enough, we're coming back to center. Let's let the right ear go toward the right shoulder. Let your left shoulder kind of melt down. Feel those scalenes, those muscles on the side, left side of your neck, kind of stretching and loosening. Then bringing your head back up to center. Let's bring the left ear toward the left shoulder, letting this time the right shoulder kind of melt down and away so you can feel those scalenes, those muscles on the side, right side of your neck this time, softening. And now let your chin come down toward the center of your chest, but go slow so you can feel what it's like all the way to get there. And then let your right ear roll toward your right shoulder. And just go back and forth like that a couple times. So just dipping the chin down to the center before switching sides. As always, you are welcome to stay, linger, pause, add on, or subtract anytime you want. Okay. And coming out of this pose soon, bringing your head, your gaze up to neutral. Let's find our way to tabletop. So we'll let those legs come back and around. And tabletop, here we are. We're just gonna reach that right leg straight behind us. Circle that right ankle out. It's the first time maybe that your leg has been straight in a while, so just feeling into a little stretch through that right leg, a little stretch into that right ankle. I'll take a little side bend type thing here. So with that right foot lifted, cross it back behind the left leg. So your right foot now ends up on the floor on the left side of your mat. So we're crossing back and over. And then take a little peek over that left shoulder. So we're kind of reaching the left hip point and the left shoulder kind of closer together while we're stretching through the right side. If you can see your right foot behind you to the side, cool. If not, that's fine. Try to see if you can feel some sensation, some stretching through that right side. One more big breath in here. And breath out. Come back to the center. Bring your knee down to tabletop. Readjust if you need adjusting. And then we're going to straighten that left leg out right behind us. Stretch that left leg. Start to circle the left ankle a little bit here, maybe pointing and flexing along the way as well. Ooh, all those years of soccer playing really has my ankles and toes cracking. I wonder if you're hearing any sounds with your ankles or toes. And then we're crossing it over. So left leg sweeping across and back toward the right edge of the mat and setting it down. And then pulling that right shoulder back toward the right hip point as you gaze toward that foot. Create more length between the left hip point and the right shoulder, kind of reaching that right shoulder forward. Breathe. One more breath in. One more breath out. Coming back to tabletop, knees in place here. Let's find our way to child's pose, extended child's pose, if you will. Knees will come out wide toward the edges of your mat, big toes touching behind you. You might start to sit back a little bit here, and if the knees aren't quite feeling ready for it, maybe you come back up a little bit. You could take a variation where you, where the knees aren't that bent. You could come down to your forearms up here at the top and then kind of reach the hips back, or go ahead and sink down into the variation that you like best. And then see if you can send the energy and awareness of your breath down to the sacrum. And the sacrum is that triangular holy bone there at the base of the spine that connects to the pelvis. So kind of like the flat part of the low back, very, very low back. See if you can send your breath there. And you are welcome to stay right here or join me in threading the needle from Child's Pose. If you are joining me, let's bring the right hand in a little closer. We're kind of lifting the chest here. Let's reach that left hand way up high. We're upward twisting toward that left hand high. And then threading the needle. Left arm goes down and through. If you can reach that left shoulder inside of the head, can touch the floor, blocks, or kind of stay hovering, that works too. See if you can send your awareness to that left shoulder and take a few breaths. As always, variations are welcome. Maybe you crawl that right hand up toward the top of your mat. When you're ready, let's switch sides, planting the right hand back by your face and pressing your way up. Reach that left hand high. And then switch sides. Left hand comes down to the mat. Upward twist, reaching the right arm high. Ooh, that feels good. And then threading the needle. Right hand goes down and through. Right shoulder, right side of the head could meet the floor or blocks. Sending your awareness to linger in that right shoulder, and the right side of your back, and wherever else you can feel things happening. Three more breaths here. And just about one more breath. And then plant your left hand by your face. Press your way back up, reaching the right hand high. And then right hand comes back down. Let's find our way into our first downward facing dog today. If you have your blocks and you like to use them, we're bringing those up to the top of the mat. If you don't have blocks, that's just fine. We're still going to spread the fingertips out with the hands just slightly turning outward, just a little bit. So that they're, pointing a little bit towards the side edges of your mat. Curling your toes under, start to pick up your knees and reach that tailbone high. Press and grip into the hands and fingers. Reach through your shoulders. Reach that tailbone high. Find your breath here. Commit to a steady pace of breath. And if you want to pedal your legs out, bending and straightening opposite knees a couple of times will do. One more breath in. One more big breath out. With your inhale, bend your knees, look toward your hands. Exhale to step forward to ragdoll. You might consider toe heeling your feet way out wide today, if you'd like. And then bringing a little bend into your knees. You can always grab opposite elbows if you like. You could sway a little bit here. You could just stay steady and breathe. Maybe nodding your head yes and no a couple of times. If you are grabbing opposite elbows, go ahead and switch your grip, bringing your other forearm on top. One more breath in. One more breath out. Bend your knees a little deeper, tuck your chin toward your chest, then walk your hands up your legs as you support yourself, rising up to stand. Take more time to get there. I feel like I'm just a seed growing today. All right, when you get to the top, adjust your clothing if there's anything that feels like it needs adjusting, then give yourself a nice little shake. So we're just gonna start our little shake out. So maybe it starts with the arms today. Maybe you lift and lower your heels a couple times today. Just go ahead and start shaking and bouncing in whatever ways feel right to you. See if it can kind of be initiated from your own body and experience. We are co-creating this experience. So bringing in a little more of you in this moment of shaking, bouncing, jumping, whatever feels right. We're just getting the circulation going. We're pumping ourselves up for this flow. Okay, when you've had enough, let's come up to the top of the mat. Take a look down at your feet first. Make sure they're a comfortable distance, feeling nice and steady. Flip the palms to face the front of your space. Feel a little opening through your heart, a little bit of engagement through the shoulder blades behind you. And then engage your core so we're not ending up in a little back bend. We're just standing straight up. Close your eyes here if you'd like for a moment, just to feel mountain pose from this internal perspective. And let it remind you of your inner strength and resilience. Here you are, standing despite it all, practicing self-care through this practice of yoga. Let's take a clearing breath in through the nose. Sigh to release. With an inhale, reach your arms around and up, joining palms overhead. Exhale, baby back bend. We'll cactus or goalpost the arms, bending the elbows. Squeeze the glutes and then lift the gaze and the heart up toward the sky. Breathing in and out. Inhale, rise back up, reaching high. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands come to the shins, knees, or thighs. Exhale, hands lower to the floor. We're stepping the right foot back first and then the left to our high plank for just one breath in. And then breath out. Lower your knees, lower your chest. Untuck your toes, press the tops of your feet down into the mat so much that your knees start popping up. With your inhale, rise up to your baby cobra. Staying here for your exhale. One more breath in. And exhale, lower. With your inhale, rise back up to tabletop, hands and knees. And exhale to child's pose. With your knees maybe a little closer together this time if you want to get a little bit more into that low back. 2 more breaths here, inhaling. Exhaling. 1 more in. 1 more out. Inhale, rise on up, tabletop. You could put your blocks back under your hands here, or just head on back to downward dog. We'll have 3 breaths, nice active hands. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last breath in. Breath out. With your inhale, bend your knees and look to the top of your mat. If you want to try to have a little extra fun, you might try to hop to the top of your mat, or even just like halfway up. Or step to the top of your mat for forward fold. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're getting there. Inhale, halfway lift, half tuck of your chin. Exhale, fold. press your feet down into the floor. Inhale, rise on up. Reach your palms together overhead. And exhale, bring it on down to heart center. Take 3 breaths, checking in with yourself. And then let's take a clearing breath. Inhale through your nose. Sigh it out. Inhale, reach hands high. Exhale, baby back bend. Let's flow through it a little more here. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands come to the floor. Step your left foot back first and then your right to your high plank. Take a breath in when you get there. And exhale, knees lower, chest lowers all the way down. Let's get set up for baby cobra again. With your inhale, we're rising up. Shoulder blades are hugging together behind you, kind of wrapping down the back, staying lifted here for your exhale. One more inhale option to hover your hands up off of the floor, making sure those muscles are working. And exhale, lower down. Inhale, rise up to tabletop. And exhale to child's pose for 3 breaths. Whenever your 3 breaths are up, come on up to tabletop one more time. And then exhale to downward dog. 3 breaths here. Remember to keep pressing into the shoulders and hands. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last breath in. Last breath out. With your inhale, bend your knees, look toward your hands. With your exhale, make your way to the top. Maybe you take that fun little hop. Maybe you do something else on the way up. Either way, we're meeting up in forward fold here soon. With an inhale, it's halfway lift. Looking straight down to the floor so the back of the neck feels nice and long. Exhale, forward fold. Plant your feet down, and with an inhale, rise on up, joining palms overhead. And exhale, bring those hands to heart center. 3 breaths here, checking back in, coming to your center. We're kind of keeping that intensity a little bit here. Let's take a clearing breath in through your nose. Sigh to release. All right, we're going to do a little bit of a balancing flow here before taking it down a couple notches. So we're going to start by coming to one-legged mountain pose. So just make sure that your feet are wide enough that they feel stable. We're gonna lift that right leg first. So you can always come down and have your tippy toes on the floor here. You could bring a block underneath your foot and bring your tippy toes to the block so your knee gets a little higher. Or you could kind of have that as a spot you can work with without bringing your foot, all the way back down to the ground. Of course, you can change what height your block is on. Maybe you come to the tippy toe way up high, so you're really starting to strengthen that hip quite a bit. This is a hip strengthening and stretching flow here. So whatever your one-legged mountain is looking like today, that right knee is the one that's kind of lifting here. In your own timing, I want you to try to flow back to airplane pose. So the right leg starts to sweep back. The right toes can rest on the floor. Just wherever you're at, make sure that your shoulder blades are hugging together and you're comfortable. So airplane pose. We're going to land back in arrow pose. So taking a big step back with that right foot. We're bending into that left knee and then kind of sinking the chest forward. So this is our arrow pose. With an inhale, sweep your arms down, forward, and up. So we're in our nice high lunge. Exhale, arrow pose. Hands sweep forward, back, or down, and then back, hugging your shoulder blades together. One more time, inhale, sweep the arms up. Staying here, breathe like normal. You might interlace your hands behind your head and then just kind of lean back into your hands. And see if you can start really starting to feel that right hip flexor opening up here. We are balancing, we are strengthening. Good stuff. And then go ahead and release your hands down to the floor. Bring your right knee down to the mat. If you have your blocks, go ahead and grab them. I like to have them on the highest setting here because we're not really working on our upper body flexibility here. We're targeting our hips. So let's sink the hips forward and down just enough until you feel a little bit of stretch happening through that right thigh, right hip. Hands pressing into the blocks so that we're not rounding forward. We're kind of lengthening upward through the spine. If you like a little movement, maybe you kind of pulse, kind of come in and out of that sweet spot stretch. Kind of pulling the hips back a little bit and then down a little bit. And at some point, we're going to morph this into our half splits, pulling the hips back so your hips are now just above that right knee. Pull those blocks back a little bit, lift those left toes up off of the floor, and then straighten that left leg just enough until you feel a stretch through the back side of that left leg. So we're kind of pulling that left hip crease back in space as well. If you want, I kind of like to flow between those two. So, make it your own, but maybe you inhale, planting that left foot, sinking your hips, looking straight ahead, low lunge or runner's lunge, and then exhaling to half splits. Go ahead and make your own flow here or hold steady anywhere feels good. All right. We'll keep it moving. So next time your left foot is planted, stay there. Really nice to have our blocks here for some help. We'll curl that right toe under, right toes, and pick up the right knee. Find your way back to arrow pose here. So the arms are reaching back, our head is reaching forward. See if you can lift up to airplane pose. For lots of people, that's going to mean kind of toe heeling or stepping that right foot up a little bit first and then lifting up. Maybe you've got a lot of strength there and you're able to just kind of pop it up and catch yourself. Airplane pose. Just do your best. And then coming up to one-legged mountain pose with that right knee lifting. And then step it right down. Whew. Lots of work on that side. Let's switch sides here. Feel free to shake it out or take a sigh in between. When you're ready, let's find our way to one-legged mountain pose with that left knee lifting. Remembering all your options. I kind of like the block on the highest setting, even if you don't need it. It's just kind of nice to have. You could just have a very little amount of pressure there on the toe. It kind of adds a new feel to it. So once you're in your one-legged mountain, go ahead and take your time as you transition back to your version of airplane pose, bringing that left leg back or down to the floor. Most important thing is we're hugging the shoulder blades together and down and finding a little bit of balance on that right foot somehow. Take your time as you step way back to arrow pose, that left foot reaching the floor, arms still reaching back, head reaching forward. With an inhale, sweep your arms down, forward, and up. High lunge. Exhale, arrow pose. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Go ahead and breathe like normal as you stay here. You might interlace your fingers and then rest your head in your hands as you kind of open up through the heart, finding this is quite a complex pose here. We've got our left hip flexor opening, we've got a heart opener, back bend, some upper body stretching going on here, and a lot of strengthening and balancing. If it feels complicated, it is. All right, one more breath in. And then breath out. Go ahead and lower your hands down to the floor or blocks. Lower your left knee down. Grabbing your blocks on the highest setting if you have them. You can always bring your hand up to your right thigh or knee if you don't have blocks. Let's sink the hips forward and down just enough so you feel that left hip getting a little stretch after all that strengthening. You can come up to the fists on your blocks or the floor, or even the fingertips if you want. Or again, hands could be on that knee. Taking your time here, if you like some little movements, of course you can kind of find that pulse. And at some point we're finding half splits now, pulling the hips back, peeling those right toes up off of the floor, and then just straightening the right leg enough until you feel that good stretch through the back of the right leg. Pulling that right hip back a little bit in space here, and then pressing your hands into your blocks so you have a nice neutral spine. And now have some fun, make it your own, maybe coming forward to that low lunge with your inhales, maybe reaching that hip back on your exhales. Maybe there's another way you can just kind of add a little hint of playfulness or fun or enjoyment or pleasure or something. And when you have had enough, which could be now, could be in 5 minutes, you can always choose. Let's meet with our right foot planting down. Hands on the blocks if you still have them. Let's curl the left toes under, pick up that left knee. Find your way to arrow pose again. So the arms are reaching back, hugging the shoulder blades together behind you. Take your time, find your way up to airplane pose, either kind of launching off of that left foot, trying to catch yourself up there, or stepping the left foot up a couple times and then lifting. Airplane pose. Stay here till you feel like moving, and when that time comes, see if you can lift up to one-legged mountain pose with that left knee lifting. And exhale, set the foot down. Shake it out a little bit, find a couple of breaths, maybe bring your hands to your body or your heart center as you just take a moment to check for signs of life, checking in with the heartbeat, the temperature of your skin, any other needs that maybe have arisen. And let's take a clearing breath when you're ready. Inhaling through your nose. This time hold at the top just for a moment of tension to build. Open mouth, exhale, let it go. Blinking your eyes open if they were closed. Let's go ahead and head right down to the floor here. Make sure that you have your blocks or a blanket or something handy as you make your way down. We're going to spend a little bit of time just on our back flat though, so go ahead and pull your knees, well, not flat, but pull your knees in toward your chest for a moment and just kind of hold for a second, and then let your knees go a little farther away from the body, still holding on to them with your hands. Just find a little bit of free movement as you rock and roll, a little bit of weight around your back, your low back, your sacrum. So it can just be a very gentle rocking, or you can actually like rock and roll up and down the spine a couple times. You can circle your knees. Just trying to feel some massaging pressure through the back and low back. And we'll take a long body stretch, so reaching arms and legs long in opposite directions. Add on any other movements that you'd like, maybe come into like a star pose, or kind of as if you were making like a snow angel. You can move around a little bit. You could bend and straighten your arms or circle your wrists. Just adding something on to this pose. All right, we're gonna set up now for supported fish pose. So you could roll onto either side and then press your way up as you get set up. If you have blocks and you plan to use them, we'll bring the first block up to the top of the mat. I kind of like to have it on like the medium setting, so it's like parallel to the top of the mat. And then for a lot of people, the lowest setting of the block, the flattest setting of the block is going to be plenty. If you know you have a lot of back bending capabilities, or you want to adjust later to have more intensity, you could bring that block up to the medium setting. It would be quite a lot to come to the highest setting, so I recommend staying on either the lowest or the medium setting here. If the blocks are too hard for your body, you can bring a pillow or blanket up over top. So we're going to turn our back toward the props. We can keep our knees bent here as we start to lower down onto that first block, and it'll take quite a bit of adjusting here. So if you can kind of reach that block behind your back, or just kind of make sure that it's starting around mid-back, or like between the shoulder blades a little bit. And then we want the head to rest on that upper block. So just with most poses, if it feels uncomfortable right away, it usually does not get more comfortable over time. So you might adjust by coming up, maybe bringing a block or a pillow or something over top of your props. The effect we're going for here is a restorative, heart-opening kind of back bend. So the arms could reach out to the sides if that doesn't feel too intense on your shoulders or your chest. If it does, you could bring your hands down a little lower, or kind of rest your forearms on the ground, or maybe choose a different setting of your blocks. And with the legs, with your legs here, you can either bring your legs into constructive rest pose with your feet standing up at the edges of your mat and then your knees coming together at the center, or you could straighten your legs, just bringing them down to the ground, or else finding another intuitive way to rest through the legs. And just go ahead and keep adjusting until you feel restful. And if that restfulness does not arrive in this pose with these props, you might just come right down to your back without the props. If you do get to a place where you feel, I can let this unfold, no more adjustments needed, perhaps closing your eyes and seeing as this is a heart opener, let's bring our awareness to the heart center, just there at the center of the chest, right near the sternum. And as you breathe, imagining a little flame inside of the heart center. This flame has a unique color to you, or maybe a couple of colors. That's yours to find out. So just go ahead and imagine or sense into this little heart spark, this little flame at heart center. Just see if a color or a few colors start to make sense or come to the surface for you here. And maybe your flame kind of flickers or changes along with your breath. Maybe it stays steady the whole time. Just making friends with this flame and seeing what colors might want to come through. And we will be transitioning into our final rest. If you'd like to stay right here for your final rest, you're already all set up. At some point here, if you'd like to find more of a flat position to take final rest in, take your time as you pull your elbows in toward the floor, tuck your chin toward your chest, and slowly start to rise up off of your props. Just like you're moving in sleep, maybe you don't even open your eyes all the way as you move your props to the side. And then find your way back down to a lying position or whatever feels the most restful here. Could be Shavasana, could be constructive rest pose with those feet standing up and the knees coming together at the center. Maybe there's another pose or movement you need in between. Take your time. And I really wish that I knew where this kind of meditation reading came from, but I'm not sure where it came from. But I'd still like to share it today. Love before me, love behind me, love at my left, love at my right, love above me, love below me, love within me, love unto me, love through me, love use me, love to all. I am love. Peace before me, peace behind me, peace at my left, peace at my right, peace above me, peace below me, peace within me, peace unto me, peace through me, peace use me, peace to all. I am peace. as always, please feel welcome to stay and rest as long as you want. If you are becoming ready to move along, just take 3 more breaths here. And when you're ready, starting to wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe letting your head kind of roll from one side to the other. Maybe yawning or swallowing or what have you. And eventually making your way towards the fetal position on either side. So just tucking your knees in slightly. Maybe your bottom arm is your pillow. Take at least one full round of breath here, just fully here in this transition. And then using the help of your hands, press your way up to a comfortable seat. We'll join our hands in front of the heart, closing your eyes if you like. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, 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 peace in our actions, peace in our words, peace in our thoughts. Together we can bring thumbs up to third eye center, the seat of clear seeing, clear knowing. And in a little gesture of gratitude, if it feels right to you, let's take a little bow forward together now. Peace.